right. Mark, do we want to get started in the sense of time here?
Yes.
All right. Ashley, will you take over the waiting room for me? I know she's there.
Yes.
I'm like, I know she's trying to get off mute. All right. Well, we just want to thank everybody for coming to our webinar today for the UK Diversity Career Series. We are going to be covering a lot today. Mark and I were like, how are we going to fit this all in this time frame? So we will be covering a lot of different things today. Just to quickly go over our agenda, we will be looking at the goals and the purpose of why we created this diversity career series. We'll be looking at the structure of this series and just how it has come to be. We will be looking at the past programming and numbers for the past year, the very first year of the diversity career series. I always tell people, like, what a year to launch something. Fall 2020 is when we launched the entire series. So we'll be going over that. We'll be looking at the future, so fall 2021 and beyond. And then we will have some time for questions and answers. So any questions that you have of Mark and myself, or we have a few people on our staff here today. So any questions you have of us, and then we will be definitely looking for some feedback, some open discussion as well towards the end. Just a reminder, this will be recorded. So just know that when you come off mute to ask your questions at the end, we will be recording the entire thing, even the discussion at the end, so that we can have that. So as always, thank you all for being here. We are just going to jump right in, and I'm going to hand it over to Mark.
Right. Thank you, Rachel. Again, my name is Mark Williams. I'm one of the career advisors here at the Stuckert Career Center. And so we're going to just start off actually with a slide that I commonly use when I do a presentation about interviewing. It's a slide that I use with students very often. And I use this slide when I talk to students and we talk about interviewing, because for many of them, they're looking for that home run answer. They're looking for that one answer that's going to just blow you out the park. Don't ask me anything else. Hire me on the spot, right? And the reason why I love to use this slide to start off is because I want to repurpose it to really get us to think about programming, especially diversity initiatives. I think we look for that home run program, that one that's just going to draw everybody in, that's just going to score it out the park, where this is the one, there's nothing else that you need. We have it all. But I often follow up with this slide, is that there's more than one way to score in baseball. And this way takes a little bit longer. You can steal a base, you can wait for somebody else to hit and get you where you need to get to, but there's more than one way to score. And even if you don't have a home run answer, you can still get to where you need to get to in your career aspirations. And for us, we're still learning, we're still growing. And this diversity career series is just that. It's us going base to base however we can. We have made some home run moments throughout this year, but we're also still getting on base to continue to score, not only for our campus partners and our students, but also for you to continue to find partnerships in areas where we can connect. Another thing I like to talk about with students is that this, as we know, this is the Mona Lisa. And it is often mentioned that the best part, of the most obvious and attracting part to the Mona Lisa, is her smile. And I emphasize that because it's the smallest thing on the painting itself. And when you think about the details, it's the small things that add to the bigger picture. And so we're in this process right now of really redefining and really getting down to those small details on how we can find ways to engage students, but also engage our stakeholders to understand that everything we do will be purposeful, everything we do will be intentional, and it's going to add to a bigger picture, a bigger vision as we continue to progress and go base by base. And so I wanted to start off there with that kind of to intro, to let you know that there's still work to be done. And even in the work that has been done, we've been trying to pay attention to the details. But in everything, we want to make sure it is a great fit, and then it is something that's going to be attractive and appealing to everyone that is involved in this process.
Yeah, that was an excellent intro, Mark. It really helps me to connect some of the dots as well. So hopefully it was helpful for our listeners here. As Mark said, we actually started this series with big goals in mind. And so the big goal is to just introduce different career paths, industries, networking opportunities, different experiences and professional development opportunities for students that are traditionally underrepresented, our diverse students that are on campus. We really wanted to create a space for them to have discussions with employers, to create a space for you all to connect with these students, and really look at it from a developmental perspective, and helping these students to find their place in the professional world or find their place in graduate school. Mark's going to talk about all the different paths and the overall structure here in a moment. But we have listed here just a few student populations and communities that we have direct contact with. Either Mark works with them. We also have a wonderful board that we go back to, and Mark will talk about that here in a minute as well. But we just wanted to list out for you a few of the student populations and the communities that we serve directly through this series.
So next we want to talk about just the 4 areas of focus that we have regarding the Diversity Career Series. And the first being industry, as we have students who are looking for different job opportunities and aspirations to go and start their careers right away, whether it be looking for internships, full-time jobs. And this will be a common place for where a lot of different companies may come and find a lot of value for not only for you, but as well as for the students. But we also have our pre-professionals, our law, medical, dental students who are really looking to persist into going into that professional schooling, looking at becoming our future lawyers and doctors. We also have our graduate school, which is our graduate school pillar, which is a little different. Those are more focused on those other areas of graduate school, that advanced education. Some students may want to go into research. And this may be another area where students will get that advanced degree to continue further into their career aspirations, which could be an industry as well. And the last one is entrepreneurship. Students are eager to maybe start their own business, looking to develop a business plan, having a mentor, someone that can really guide them through this process. And the great thing about entrepreneurship, it can lead into other avenues of this aspect of you can do this while you're in school. Is this an area that I can begin to grow a business that will translate either after completing school or even continuing to grow while I'm finishing my education?
Yeah, that's an excellent point there, Mark. I also just want to add here that if you have someone who works for you that's in graduate school, either at UK, or we prefer they're at UK, but if they're not, we will forgive that and let them come talk to our students, because we like to have recent grads or interns or even the graduate students that want to come in and talk to our students. So if you have people that kind of stretch across these areas, not only in industry, there is a place here at the Diversity Career Series for them to talk about those experiences, if you have certain employees or interns.
So in addition, we have in our partnerships, we have different opportunities to really connect with students and to get some feedback from students. And so one of them is our student board. And in the student board, we have a group of students who what we call fluid engagement. And this is really a lot about leadership development. And any student can join this initiative. And so what they do is we ask that they participate in these 3 areas to really kind of count it and really develop them. The first one is attending meetings. We have meetings every other Monday in which we would just provide students with different questions. We would say, hey, what are your thoughts on this ideal or this type of a program, or how can we get more engaged? So we present a lot of the questions that we may get from you, we present it directly to them to get some feedback. And a great example of that would be, I'm going to say pending approval, is the beginning slide was a logo that said Diversity Career Series. Students had a lot of impact and having some feedback in that, as well as a student was the one who created that as well, who was interning with us at the time. And so we look for getting student feedback. The other thing we look for them to do is really advertise, share flyers and information with other students, with a lot of their organizations that they're a part of. We use them as a sounding board to get the information out. And what better way for students to attract more students is by giving them the tools to share the information. And then the third thing is we ask them to do is attend the programs and events themselves. And what we find a lot of times is that students may attend a program thinking they'll get nothing from it, but they'll follow up with employers or our guest speakers because they really got something that they did not anticipate from those conversations. And so, like I said before, we've consulted with them on various ideals, programs, and flyers. But we also have what we call our partners board. And in this partners board, we have a lot of our different departments on campus that come together, and we think about the trends, the things that are going on with students, and we come together to figure out the various pillars. One of the ones I want to emphasize is, for example, when we start talking our pre-professional and our graduates, we have our Center for Graduate and Professional Diversity Initiative. That's a partnership that we're continuously growing. We also have the MLK Center and a lot of these other organizations that specifically tie into the communities that really we're trying to focus on, and they help us in this process. But we also see this opportunity here with this presentation, and we see this as an opportunity of also having a partnership with our employers and those who really help us connect, that we want the students to connect with. And so we want to be able to listen and be able to connect to not only sharing information from the students, but also taking information and learning from each other in this space to be able to share with the students.
Thank you, Mark. So that kind of wraps up our structure and goals and just very broad overview of what the Diversity Career Series is. And so for those of you, I see a lot of people who have participated in one way or another in this virtual room today. So we will be going over just a look back at the fall 2020, fall like any other, not like any other, at a spring 2021. So we're going to look at some of our programming and some of our numbers from this past year now, and just kind of break some things down and talk about what worked and what kind of fell flat with students. So we're going to go through some of that now. So we're going to start with the fall 2020 Diversity Career Series programming. So as I mentioned before, we really launched a lot of these new events in fall 2020, which again, just what a year to begin anything, but especially a program such as this. So we delivered everything virtually this fall. There were no employers on campus, so therefore there were no employers to come to our Diversity Career Series events if we had them on campus. So I just want to preface, we did all of these virtually. And so we played around with a few things. So we held a diversity recruitment webinar, much like this one last May, for employers only, just to talk about the climate of the country, to talk about what UK was doing as a whole, and to talk about our upcoming Diversity Career Series that we were launching in fall 2020. So we do plan on hosting this webinar yearly, just to go over all of our initiatives, numbers, and then new programming that you can expect in the academic year going forward. And then a few of these things, so we launched for the first time, which were lunch and learns. Those were an hour long. They were, like I said, held virtually. And the way that worked was employers who hosted a lunch and learn, it was just an individual event. Employers who hosted a lunch and learn would then be expected, for any students who actually physically came to the Zoom, they'd pay $10 for a lunch card for the students who attended, and we arrange all of that. So that is what a virtual lunch and learn means. And then drop-ins were an hour-long Zoom meeting as well, and those did not have a payment component at all. And then we did a diversity virtual networking event. So this actually took place via Handshake's career fair tool. So this was a very new sort of thing for us, for the students. So we are actually planning, I'm getting ahead of myself, Mark, I'm sorry, I'm too excited. We're planning on hosting that in person. So excited to say that this upcoming fall, which we'll talk more about that later. But we will be doing that in person. It was virtual last year. And panels we had a few different panels that were 1 hour as well. And those panels consisted of, a few of those panels consisted of a few different employers that sat all on a panel together. And then we did have a panel that was entirely one employer as well. So just to go over kind of what these things mean, and then we're going to go over some numbers from fall now. So we did have, like I said, the one virtual networking reception that was taking place through Handshake's career fair tool. And then we did have 2 of those panels that were just different employer representatives on the panel. And then we had 7 individual events. So that would have included the resume reviews and the lunch and learns. So that was kind of our snapshot for our first fall 2020 semester engagement and the numbers of events that we actually hosted virtually. And then just to give you an idea of what kinds of employers are participating in our diversity career series, this is a pretty broad framework of employers that we've got on screen right now. And so these are employers that the whole screen is the employers that participated in the diversity career series within the fall 2020. So this includes our networking events as well. So this, once Mark goes over spring, that it looks like a lot more participated in the fall, and that is true because of that networking reception. We had a lot of participants for that one event. Now the employers that are outlined in blue are employers that participated in more than one event in the diversity career series. So a few of these participated in a panel and the diversity networking reception, or they might have participated in more than 2 as well. So those are the ones that are kind of boxed in that blue. And then here are the panels that had multiple employers that were sitting on those panels as representatives. So as you can see, the Recruit Me, that one was all about the recruitment process. So we're trying to bring very relevant and interesting topics to the students through these panels and through these points of discussions with employers and professionals who are in multiple different fields. So that one was held, I believe it was held very, very end of August, beginning of September. So really kind of as we were kicking off the semester, that's when that one was held. And then diversity in the workplace was held a little bit later in the semester. And so that one was actually very, very popular. That topic was very popular with students. As you can see, we had one increase in employers. We had one more employer than we had on the Recruit Me. And then we had an small increase in student attendance as well. I actually remember Mark hosting that one, and he was like, we have to do this again because I didn't get to all the student questions in the chat. So we actually did, and I'll let him talk about that. I don't want to steal all your thunder, Mark. So I'll let you talk about that later. But we did have quite some interest from the students in talking about diversity in the workplace and what your company is doing to not only recruit them, but to also retain them in the programs kind of surrounding that. And so we're moving right along into the fall 2020 individual events. So these, like I said, were the resume reviews and the lunch and learns. We actually had 8 different resume reviews. So 8 different companies who did resume reviews. Then we had 4 lunch and learns. So as you can see, we had some low attendance. These numbers over here on the bar graph are the student attendees over the course of the semester for all of those programs. So these were not as quick to turn on. Again, I think it was a combination of things. First semester, virtual, students were still learning the virtual world at that point, and they were probably a little overwhelmed at the fact that all their classes were online, all of the programming they're getting from all the offices are online. So we did have a little bit of a struggle here with those individual events in the fall. We'll just keep going. And oh, Mark, I thought I had another slide. It's all you. It is all you.
So, in looking at the spring 2021, we continued in a lot of different areas, such as the lunch and learns, the drop ins, as well as the panels. But what you'll see different is that the lunch and learns, we actually made 30 minutes. And so, one of the things I really appreciate about the feedback from students and our board of partners is that we started to have conversations and we really took time to reevaluate what worked, what didn't work, and how do we make adjustments. So we actually shortened that time to 30 minutes, and students really appreciated that because for a lot of us, an hour is a long time in that virtual space. And so, how do we adjust to really make sure that we can get that engagement with students? But we also had some signature events that were different in the spring compared to the fall. One of them being practice interviews, where students were able to have an opportunity to practice with an employer their interviewing skills. Many of them were just wanting the experience because they've never interviewed with a company before, and others were actually preparing for actual interviews. So everyone had a different purpose in participating in that. Then we also had a student org fair. I'm going to talk about that when that slide comes, to really start to talk about how to connect directly with some of our student orgs of representing a lot of the different communities and diverse backgrounds, so that there can also be a direct connection and finding opportunities to be able to share internships and then other information about your companies. And so in looking at the numbers, we had one student org fair and we had our practice interview. We did that once this spring semester. We had 7 individual events talking about the resume reviews and the lunch and learns. And we actually had an increase in the number of panels. We intentionally did more in the spring because the fall is really packed with a lot of different organizations having a lot of student organizations and just students getting acclimated. Plus, we have our own career fair and a lot of other program that goes on. And so we really spend the spring to really do a lot of that development piece. So that's why you see an increase in more so the programming as well as signature events. And here again, in our employers that participated in a lot of our diversity career series events. And as Rachel said before, it looks a little smaller only because we did not do the networking event. And also in the box, as you can see, we have employers who participated multiple times throughout the different programs that we offer, both individually and as well in our signature events. And looking at the numbers, we of the panels that we did, we had persevere to success. And I think this is a good example of getting feedback from our student board. So when we initially made the flyer for this, we had this specific title ready to go, and we took it back to the student board, and we kind of took it to them too late, unfortunately, and they were like, "This title may not work." And so, unfortunately, we didn't have a strong turnout with this particular event. But knowing that they were having input into the flyer, we got their input in the next 2 to 3 diversity in the workplace as well as corporate shop. And as you can see, the numbers increase, and we also saw an increase in the spring in terms of the number of participants. I would like to also add that these are the number of students, but it's not does not reflect the true number of participants, as we also have faculty and staff participate in these as well. And it goes to show the diversity of the importance of really listening and getting some information that many of these campus partners and faculty and staff also take back to their students. So that's another way that we're getting information out, is through our partners on campus that also attend the events that we are inviting students to as well. And as we look at the numbers for the number of student attendees at our individual events, the resume workshop, we had 3, though we only had that one workshop that we did. We saw an increase in drop-ins, and we only had 2 in the spring, and even an increase in the lunch and learns, and we did 3 of those as well. And so what we're starting to notice is that student engagement is really starting to pick up, and especially with the student board being formed, I think it's really benefiting hearing from other students, the benefits and the testimonies that they share with each other about why it's important to get involved within this space.
And Mark, I just want to add to that as well. Mark and I've been fortunate enough to watch Mark interact with these students. And I think it was actually this practice interview where students stayed after and talked to Mark and I, and they said, we're going to go tell the people that weren't here what they missed. And like, they were so pumped. They had such a good experience that they were seriously getting on their phones and telling other students, like, you should have come to this thing, you got to come next time. So the power of spreading the word is real with these students. And so I just wanted to add that little piece in there, Mark.
I appreciate that, Rachel. Thank you. And here for our practice interview, we had 11 students who were interviewed, but we had 27 that were registered. And the discrepancy in the number, there were some students who registered late by our deadline, but it shows that there is an interest in wanting that experience. And we had these companies who participated in this process and which students they interviewed, how many students they interviewed with. And I would say that of the 11, there was only one person where it was some difficulty getting in contact with to complete their interview, but students followed up and they followed through. What was also unique about how we got students engaged in this particular space, we actually went and we surveyed the students on when they were free. A lot of student engagement really focuses around their class schedule or their work schedule, but this time we asked them when you were free, and then we brought those opportunities to the companies to be able to match it up to their schedule as well. So I think that was something that really helped in retaining and having that student engagement at a high level, which we hope to do more of in the future as well, so that we can make sure that there's a high impact that's both for the companies as well as for the students as we find ways to connect. And so something else that I would like to highlight is that there were a lot of engagement that happened, as Rachel mentioned, after the fact. And a lot of our student testimonies, they would attend one of the events and there would be follow-up emails with the employers that may go on throughout the semester. And for some of you that are here, that engagement, students will come back and tell us, like, it was great to talk to an employer, or, hey, we talked about potential internship opportunities. And they were really genuinely excited to know that there were companies here to really help them engage in this space and just learn and just talk. And in that, as I said before, they told other students. And I'll tell you firsthand that a lot of these students then come into our office seeking those resumes, seeking those opportunities to prepare themselves, knowing that companies will be engaging and having those additional opportunities.
Wonderful. So Mark mentioned the Student Organizations Fair. So this is brand new. So we did try this out this semester, and we found it, the spring semester, we found it to be very, very rewarding for students, for employers. We got lots of good feedback from you all out there and those who are not here who attended this fair. So the way this was structured, we did do this piece virtually as well. So we held a normal Zoom meeting, and we gave each of these organizations that you see here on the screen, we gave each organization a breakout room, and then we allowed employers to come into the Zoom room, and we either sent them to the breakout rooms or they got to choose which breakout rooms they wanted to go to. And which student organizations they would like to talk to. So this event was very successful. We had about 12 companies attend. We're hoping to up the numbers on both student organizations and employers and companies who want to attend. This was a free event this past semester. We plan on making a free event, and we're going to hold it virtually next semester as well, so that it makes it easier for employers and students to attend. You can just log into that Zoom meeting. The tech worked really well. Also, you all were not frustrated. Like, employers were able to bounce around and able to speak to students in a pretty short amount of time as well. Students would talk to employers in groups. They would talk to employers individually, just depending on who was in the room. So this was a very successful event. It allowed you all to connect directly with students. And then it also allowed for, as Mark was saying, that kind of follow up there. If students were looking for a professional development presenter, that might be a good way to meet student organizations and to further that engagement on that more direct level as well.
So in terms of our goals for this upcoming fall and spring, these are just some of the things that we're trying to do. One of the things I want to highlight right away is our diversity programming is we're hopefully going to do a career carnival. And to give you some insight on what this looks like, we would spend the morning really focusing on, again, that career development, practice interviews, resume reviews, elevator pitches, really talking about how to give students that exposure as if they were going to a career fair and going through that actual recruitment process and having an environment for them to begin to explore and expose and really connect with these different aspects is what we're trying to do. But in the second half, what we were looking at doing is having carnival games and seeing how employers can also show the fun side of what we do, and maybe hosting a carnival game, having students, win different opportunities for different prizes and tickets, and just to show that there's this human aspect as well. So trying to really step outside the box, do something different, and how we connect and engage with students and make things a little bit more personable. So that's just one of our programming ideals. We're also looking at how we're branding and changing our strategies with that. And so we're hoping that social media is something that we will have a presence in. Students have really talked about Instagram as being a starting point and really gaining a social media presence. And then also GroupMe. And we were hopefully looking at using this GroupMe not only to share events, but as different internship opportunities pop up, giving that direct access. Here's something that we want you to be aware of, and trying to really filter all that information directly to the students and knowing that they have access to it. But we're also looking at building a website focused on diversity career series. So then also as stakeholders and others can have a direct source to be able to get information themselves. And so we're looking at really building our brand and how we're marketing this great series and opportunities for all of our stakeholders. And then we're going to continue to network. That's really what we've been doing a lot of this year, this semester, and looking at the Von Allman Center for Entrepreneurship, trying to develop that partnership, looking at other ways to get connected with graduate and professional programs. As I mentioned earlier about the Center for Graduate Professional Diversity Initiatives, just really trying to find other ways and other avenues that even you as corporate partners can also get involved in this space as well, because we have graduates who are also looking for full-time employment also. And then the last thing I want to emphasize is we're tentatively looking at a career and cultural type of trip networking event where we're looking at going to a different city or even here within Lexington, and really understanding this career aspect and finding different ways to network while also looking at the cultural components. And this is a joint collaboration with our campus partners. And Ashley Murphy-Gee has been one of our is the lead on this as we continue to really bring it into fruition, and how we continue to look at diversifying how we're creating different experiences for our students.
Oh my gosh, Mark and I are both trying to control the PowerPoint at once, so please forgive us. So as I mentioned, I was very excited, got ahead of myself. I mentioned the Diversity Career Series reception is going to be in person at the Student Center that you see in the save the date. It's going to be September 22nd from 3:30 to 5:30. So this will be directly following our Higher Blue Fairs, which are also going to be in person. And that will be earlier in the day, and this will be directly following it. And we are so excited to welcome you all back. So this will be just a wonderful networking opportunity in addition to the career fair. And we will be advertising it to our Diversity Career Series networks that Mark just talked about. So we are very excited to welcome you all back onto campus for the Higher Blue Fairs, and then also for our networking reception that will be directly following the fairs. So if you have any questions, please feel free to email me about this. we are looking to have the registration for both the Higher Blue and the networking reception up by July 1. So you will be receiving information on that, on both of those events as we get closer to that date. All right, so that wraps up all of our content. Actually, Mark, I wanted to give you time and space to talk. I promised you all student testimonials, and I know Mark has a few to verbally share with you all today. I know I jumped the gun and shared one earlier, but we would love to, Mark, if you want to just take a moment to share a student testimonial or two, and then we will jump into questions right after that. I didn't mean to skip you on that, Mark.
Oh, no. And from the conversations I've had with students, I will tell you that there was one student that we had who political political science major. I remember where her major was, and so she's political science major. She's trying to find an internship to go home and really connect. And I told her, well, we have the diversity career series, and she was like, yeah, I've heard a little about it. And I was like, well, stop by one of our lunch and learns. And so she stopped at the lunch and learn for Aldi, and she didn't know what to anticipate. She just kind of said, okay, I'll stop. Maybe I'll hear something. And so as she came in, she was really excited to hear the opportunities, and as well as she was actually not from Lexington, she's actually from Ohio. And so she would come into my office and we would talk, and she was just like, yeah, I'm sending follow-up emails and trying to really connect to see what type of internships are available. And so that's just one testimony. Another testimony is that at the student org fair, we had one student org where the gentleman was very connected with a lot of, I guess, a lot of the employers, where he either had a connection with a former internship or he had an opportunity in the past, and just hearing like, yeah, it was good to see and see a familiar company, and just talking about opportunities just presented on the spot. And he was excited. And he told me he was going to go back and tell his organization that, hey, you should have been here. And what I'm really sharing with these testimonies is that students are talking, students are engaged, and it may not always look like it right away, but it's the seeds that we plant that tend to grow and just mature over time, that they are really eager to see who is really wanting to connect. And the other great thing they love is being able to, again, connect in the interviewing space. And even from some of our employers, I heard in the practice interviews, wow, this was an ideal candidate even for my company, even though this person was here for something totally different. And so even hearing some of your testimonies has been helpful in figuring out how can we continue to grow this space. And so just wanted to share that as an opportunity to let you know that it is working. We are getting on base, and we have had some home run moments, but the game is still being played. We're just in the first inning and looking forward to seeing where we get to the next one.
Thank you for that, Mark. We want to open it up for questions from the audience now. Like I said, we're here to answer any questions that you have about our presentation, about the series in general, and we're happy to take those now. If you want to drop them in the chat or unmute, and just shout out your questions.
We do have one question, Rachel, and it's a two-parter. Do you anticipate outcomes to do mock interviews on campus in the fall, and any opportunities during the summer?
Okay, I'll take the I'll take that first part of that question, Mark. We do not have typically, so we did the practice interviews in the spring, and so we are planning to conduct practice interviews or mock interviews in the spring, and not so much this fall. So that's kind of the long-term academic year plan. We have not discussed if we're planning on doing those that whole program in person or virtually just yet. Our center will be open and running. So if you want to do any interviews on campus, or if you have if you are just wanting to come say hi, we will all be there on campus. We have just not, for that particular program, we have not decided if it's best to do, And that's kind of why we're meeting with you all here today. Would you like to do them in person? Would you like to do them virtually? What's going to be best from the employer perspective on that end? And then as far as summer, Mark, I don't know if you want to take that one, or I'm happy to do that one as well.
I'll take that one. Currently, we're not doing anything in the summer directly relating with companies and company engagement. What we are considering is some form of engagement in other areas such as Handshake, how to really navigate Handshake, and looking at really preparing students for opportunities and recruitment opportunities in the fall. And so we're considering that at the moment, but we are looking in the future on how we can make this a year-long process of continuous engagement, even in the summertime.
Mm-hmm. So that, hopefully that answered that question.
Mm-hmm.
It seems right now we don't have any questions, but we do have some good feedback that they would like either in person or online for the mock interviews if we decide to do it soon.
Okay, so it sounds like either or. I'm actually going to stop sharing the screen now so we can see you all, maybe. All right, there we go. Stop sharing the screen just so we can see everyone and have a discussion. No, you don't have to turn your cameras on, but if you do, we are excited to see you all. But Mark and I would love to use this time. If anyone has questions, again, please feel free to shout them out. If not, we would love to just use this time to get some feedback from you all. I see a lot of you all who have participated in the past, some who have not yet participated. So I know we've got a good mix of people here in the room. So I'd love to hear any and all feedback that you all have. I just want to leave it open for now. If you have feedback on something specific you participated in, or if you are thinking ahead towards the fall, we are trying to offer, like, not just with the Diversity Career Series, but for all of our employers, we're trying to offer both more of a hybrid. So we've got some virtual, we've got some in-person. We realize that that's probably going to be the way going forward. So if you're thinking about that, we'd love feedback there. Just want to leave it really broad for now, just to get some feedback from you all.
One of the questions here was about Society for Women Engineers. Are they a part of our target group? And the answer is yes. What we specifically did, we gathered a list of a lot of our student orgs to identify and meet in terms of our target groups. And we have that list, and we're going to spend a lot of our time to continue to network, let them know the benefits of our Diversity Career Series, and hope that they take advantage of it. Again, this being year one, this is a starting point, but our goal is to get more of that diverse group of student engagement from across various majors as well.
David, did you raise your hand?
I did. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
I'm actually traveling. I was riding along while listening to the presentation. Thank you very much for it. For those who don't know me, my name is David Butts. I'm the Associate Director for the Center for Graduate and Professional Diversity Initiatives here at UK. One of the things I wanted to say to you all is, first of all, great first year, and make sure you're not selling yourself short, because people think of University of Kentucky as a university of 30,000 students, but you're not talking about a 30,000 student pool. You're talking about a pool of students that's about 4,500 or so, right? Based on your targeting of a specific population. So, so first of all, good job, and don't sell yourself short. Secondly, one of the things, I was having a conversation yesterday, day before yesterday, with somebody from a company who was trying to find some more underrepresented applicants to apply for a job. And they said they're just not in the pool. They're just not in the pool. And I think that what you all are addressing here is an opportunity to impact the pool. And so that we don't rely on that excuse any longer, that I didn't have any applicants. For companies to be able to come on campus and start to create relationships, as I'm sure a lot of the recruiters here are identify, that's extremely important. And it's really important to our students. I hear it from my graduate and professional students all the time. When there is a company that shows some sort of interest, connection, contribution to them earlier on, they remember that, and they remember that as an opportunity for them in the future. And so I really just kind of want to make sure that the companies who are here recognize that we value them for taking the time to make an impact early, and that will increase our pool. But what do we have to do if we want to make it happen? We have to make effort, right? This requires effort and energy. My high school didn't have a lacrosse team until we developed one, right? Until we went out, found students, got them excited, encouraged them to participate. And now we have teams from every single level, including like 5-year-olds, when it never existed. If you want it to happen, create the energy, go out and make it happen. And so I thank you all, and I'm glad to participate in this series, and I'm glad that my office is able to support it.
Thank you so much, David. And I think what David is speaking to is a lot of like what, if you've met with me for a recruitment strategy session, what we talk about building the brand and having students see you either on campus or in a virtual space, knowing that you're putting that effort in and helping them not only to secure a job maybe with your company, but just helping them professionally develop in general. So I think that's probably, thank you so much for the kind words, David. We love working with you as well. But we were just so excited to host this today and to see familiar faces. And if anyone does have more feedback, we don't want to keep you over just to keep you. So if you have feedback, we'd love to hear it. If you have feedback on in-person versus virtual for a few of the things that we mentioned that we're planning on doing for the fall, we'd love to hear about that as well.
Hi, this is Erica.
Hi, Erica.
Hey, how are you?
Good.
Good. Two good questions. When you talk about the graduate and professional schools, I think that's what it said. Are we talking about master's level degrees, or are we talking about, I guess it's not alumni. I guess I want to understand first and foremost, what is the profile? What students are we talking about that falls under graduate professional? And then I did have another question, but it went away. So we'll start with that one.
Okay, great question. Graduate professional, really focusing on undergraduate students who would like to matriculate into an advanced degree, whether it be master's, doctorate, or one of the professional, kind of your pre-law, pre-medical. But even within that graduate space, we're looking at mentorship, getting them kind of those connections on what it takes to get into grad school. But as David was talking about with his particular office, we have graduate students as well in that pool that are looking to transition into various aspects, and that will include the corporate industry section as well.
Yeah, and if you don't mind, Mark, I do want to add, so when we're talking for the graduate professional students who are currently enrolled at the University of Kentucky, yes, we're talking about master's level students, we're talking about PhD level students, and we're also talking about the professional schools. So some of the health colleges have professional schools, like our College of Medicine, our law school is considered a professional school. So there's really kind of 3 levels of students. And then we also have postdocs, and we have some other sort of very small kind of niche groups within the graduate and professional levels as well. But certainly they are our target audience, because that's who my office serves specifically. But we want to be able to connect them with this series as well, because their goal is very similar to our undergrads, and that is to be able to find a career, and along the way to be able to develop themselves to be prepared when it comes time to enter into that career force, into that workforce. So I hope that helps answer that question.
Yes, thank you. And I couldn't remember the other question, so I'll email you, Rachel and/or Mark.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. Well, we just want to thank you again for being here today. If you do happen to have a question after we log off, please feel free to email myself and Mark. We are happy to help in any way possible or help clarify anything. But we again thank you all for being here today. And if we have anything else, then I'm gonna give one last final call. I never like to log off like really quickly because then someone would have something, of course. So one more call, and if no one has anything, then we just again thank you so much and hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. No questions, no more discussion. Okay, thank you all so much. And please email if you have any questions.